everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Kassandra, and just in time for Valentine's Day, I'm going to take you through this heart-opening Vinyasa flow class. This is an intermediate sequence with a lot of chest openers as well as back bends, so definitely an upper body intensive flow, but of course I'll be sure to add in a few lower body poses as well so that we're not neglecting the hips and hamstrings and those other juicy parts of the body. But this is really a class to connect with the energy of the heart. So opening this heart chakra space, focusing on love, compassion, gratitude for ourselves as well as for others. I'm not using any props, and we're going to begin lying down on our belly with a laying chest opener. And I'll give you some options. I'm going to start on the left side. It'll just be easier for you to see what I'm doing. So option one is to just have your left arm out straight with the hand about at the same height as your head rather than shoulder height. Or the way I like to do it is sometimes called broken wing, where you bend the elbow at a 90-degree angle, palm flat to the floor, and then we're all just going to roll over onto our left hip and left shoulder and ear or temple. I find this easier to do with my knees bent, pushing my right hand into the ground until I get a big stretch through the left side pectorals, into the chest, down the biceps, into the shoulders. And depending on your range of motion, you might even be able to step that right foot back behind you. That's a bit too much for me today, so I'm just going to keep my knees stacked one over the other. So take some deep breaths into the space of the heart. Perhaps you'd like to work with an intention throughout this practice. It could be showing yourself a little bit more love and compassion. It could be about focusing on gratitude for a specific person in your life. And we'll straighten our legs so that we can roll onto our bellies. Before we do the second side, we'll just transition into Sphinx pose first. So forearms, palms flat to the mat, push into the tops of the feet, lift up through your chest. And if you'd like, you can work with a visualization of the heart chakra, like this glowing green energy right at the space of the heart. And we'll go into our laying chest opener or broken wing on the other side. So whatever you did on the first side, just repeat it again here. I'm going to keep my elbow bent at a 90-degree angle, palm flat to the floor. And I'm bending my knees so that I can roll over onto the right, using my left hand, pushing it into the ground. Very normal for one side to feel quite different than the other. This practice can also be a great exercise in non-judgment and self-acceptance. So if you notice yourself getting critical as we flow and go in and out of these poses, just be aware of it and see if you can shift to a bit more of a loving thought. And let's release, coming back through to center. Let's find 3 little baby cobras instead of doing Sphinx pose. So you can have your hands near your shoulders, push into the tops of your feet. Inhale, upper body lifts up. Exhale, lower it down. Really squeeze your shoulder blades together here. Inhale. And exhale. One more. And release into our puppy pose. You're going to push yourself up onto hands and knees. Keep your hips over your knees. Walk your hands out in front of you and melt the forehead and the chest down towards the mat. You can draw the lower belly in a little bit so that this arch is not all sinking into your lower back. Instead, we're focusing a little bit more on expanding and stretching through the upper back into our shoulders, armpits, chest. Pushing into the hands, lift yourself up and just go and sit onto your heels. Make sure your shins and thighs are about hip width distance apart. Left fingertips will go back behind you and you can kind of swing that right arm up and over, a variation on camel pose here. I'm going to press and lift my hips up as high as they'll go. A bit of a back bend, but also a side bend. And release, switching sides, right hand behind you, left arm swings out. Press and lift those hips. Stretching through the thighs, let's release and find downward facing dog. Hands shoulder width distance apart. Tuck your toes under and lift your hips up. So feel free to really bend into your knees as much as you need to. Don't worry about having your heels touch the ground. It truly does not matter. Relax your head and your neck. We're going to reach our right leg up towards the sky for three-legged dog, just using this to transition into a low lunge. So right foot to the top of the mat, back knee comes down, and come on up high here in this low lunge. We're going to do reverse prayer with the arms. So you can reach your arms up, hands together, and see if you can bend your elbows, bringing them towards the back of your head, back of your neck, and then maybe leaning back as we add a bit of a back bend. So I'm not focusing on the hips as much in this low lunge. I'm more so trying to broaden through the chest. Big breath in here. And coming back through to center from here into tiger pose. So you're going to bring your hands to frame that front foot. We're going to kick that right heel up to the sky. Drop the belly, lift the gaze. Maybe hold here or reach back with your left hand, grabbing a hold of that ankle and kicking the ankle into the palm to arch a little bit more, finding this bow shape. We're coming into our warrior one from here. So release the hold of the ankles, step your foot forward once more between your hands, tuck the back toes under to lift the knee, and bring that foot down at a 45-degree angle as you reach on up. Palms come together, shift your gaze up just for a breath. Let's interlace our hands behind the lower back, coming into humble warrior. Open up through your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades. Exhale, dive to the inside of that leg as you reach your knuckles up and over. So big stretch in here. Stay low in humble warrior. Just let your hands come down to frame the front foot back into our three-legged dog. This time we're going to bend the right knee, open up the hip. You're welcome to stay here. If Wild Thing is part of your practice, you can come into it now, dropping the right toes back behind you, leaning on that left hand and pushing into the feet in order to lift up. Right arm extends up and back. And we all find our flow. So we all meet in plank pose, lowering down. Inhale, back bend. And downward facing dog. Getting ready to do the same thing over on the other side. Lifting the left leg up straight and squared into your low lunge. So Vinyasa with reverse prayer with our arms. So stay lifted up tall as opposed to sinking down deep into this lunge. Bending into the elbows, hands come together, and think of lifting up as if there was a string tied around your collarbones, around your heart, pulling you up a little bit more. Flowing from here into our tiger pose. Come back through to center, plant your hands. You're gonna kick that left foot all the way up, reach through the heel, drop the belly, lift the gaze, and you can reach through with your right hand. Find the ankle and lift on up. From here into Virabhadrasana 1, our warrior 1. Bring your knee towards your chest to step that left foot through. Tuck the back toes under and spin that back foot at around a 45-degree angle, lifting up. Let's first do the traditional variation of warrior 1. Hands come together to touch. And then we'll interlace our hands the more unusual way. So you have your other thumb on top, roll the shoulders back, squeeze and lift, and then dive down. Think of really pushing into your back foot here, so it's not all that left leg doing the work for you. And we're staying low to the ground. Bring your hands down, three-legged dog. This time you're gonna lift and bend your left knee. Maybe you stay here in three-legged dog, or you transition into your wild thing. Left toes go back behind you. Push evenly through both legs. Left arm up and over. Taking your vinyasa, we meet in plank and lower. Upward dog, downward facing dog. And let's bring our knees down to the mat and lower all the way down to your belly. We're gonna come into half bow, half locust. So you're going to reach your right arm out in front of you and bend into your left knee. Grab a hold of the outside edge of that left foot. As you inhale, you're gonna pick everything up off the mat as much as possible. So squeeze and lift. So right arm and right leg are in Shalambhasana, locust pose. Left side of your body is in a variation of your wheel pose. Or sorry, not your wheel pose, your bow pose. And release, let's switch sides, left arm forward. Bend your right knee, grab a hold of the outer edge of that foot. And squeeze and lift. You might not be lifting up very high here. This is a very challenging pose. And let's release, flip over onto your back. Draw your knees in towards your belly. Give it a big squeeze. Rocking a little bit side to side. And we'll come into bridge pose, Setu Bandha, Sarvangasana. Feet flat to the floor, arms by your side, squeeze and hug. Roll those shoulders down. So there's an opening already through your chest. As you push down into your heels, squeeze through your glutes and lift your seat up as high as it'll go. If you'd like, you can also lift your heels so you're just up onto the balls of your feet. And exhale, let's lower down. Bring your knees in towards your chest, give it a big squeeze. So you'll have another option here. You can either repeat bridge pose again, the same thing we've just done, or if wheel is part of your practice and you'd like to do that, we're gonna go into wheel pose next. Make sure you're not pushing yourself. You're practicing that loving kindness, that compassion for your body and choosing what makes the most sense for you. If you're in wheel pose, you can flip your palms, bringing them by your sides, close to your shoulders, close to your ears, shoulder width distance apart. You can start by coming up into your bridge, so we're all here together, and then lifting and expanding up. Hugging in through the inner thighs a little. Big chest expansion here. And we slowly come down. If you were in bridge pose, lower down. Draw your knees in towards your belly. And let's come into a laying spinal twist to finish things off. I'm gonna cross and wrap my right thigh over my left before letting both legs drop down over towards the left side of my mat. Right arm extends out to the side. So really important to do these twists after we do a lot of back bends, especially if maybe you did unintentionally pinch something in your lower back. This can be a great way to bring some relief to the area. Nice counter pose. And one more big belly breath. And use ab strength to lift those knees back up, uncross, and we'll go do the same thing to the other side. This time I'm gonna wrap my left thigh over my right one before dropping both knees and thighs to the right. Left arm stretches out. Three more deep belly breaths in and out through the nose. And we'll unwind, coming into Savasana, our final resting pose. And if you had been contemplating a specific intention, you can recall it now. I'll offer you a few different affirmations. Maybe you want to choose one and repeat it internally to yourself a few times as we breathe into the space of the heart. I have compassion for myself and others. I am worthy of love. And I am at peace with myself. Staying here for a few minutes, you can internally repeat an affirmation of your choice, settling into that heart space. And let's wake back up slowly. Move a little and take some deep breaths. Maybe stretch your arms up overhead. And we'll roll to one side, come up and take a seat. Sitting up tall and closing your eyes once you're there. And we'll take Padma Mudra, this lotus, blossoming lotus mudra. So it's like your prayer Anjali mudra, but you're just going to open up, only keeping the thumbs and the pinky fingers connected, and really placing this flower, this lotus, right at the heart space. Imagining your own heart blooming, connecting one last time with your intention, and closing the hands together, Anjali Mudra. Let's chant Om together one time. Inhale to chant, breathe in deeply. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this back-bending, heart-opening practice. I would love to know how it went for you and what you thought of this class. Do leave me a comment down below, and please do subscribe if you don't already. Hopefully, we'll practice again together very soon.